All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to start out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and salutations to the brethren that are pushing out this word in truth and in sincerity. All right, this is your brother Yahweh Olive from GMS Chicago coming at you again with another lesson. All right, and the title of this video is going to be 2/3 hate to be rebuked, or Jake hates correction, something to that effect. All right, and that's the truth of the matter, is that Yasharallah, specifically the wicked among Israel, they hate to be reproved. Okay, see, men of the Lord, they take on the fight with the flesh and the spirit. Okay, and they fight to do and fight the flesh and strive to do what the spirit tells us to do. But the wicked among our nation are just given over to the flesh. All right, and they make excuse according to their will. At the end of the day, they're not going to be reproved because they hate correction. At the end, they want to do what they want, what's in their mind to do. They want to do their own will. Okay, so that's why the scriptures tell us to let the wicked be wicked still. All right, but this is why we go out to the highways and the byways week in and week out, and Jake still don't listen because they want to do according to their own will. So but the scripture says if our gospel be hid, it is hidden to them that are lost. All right, so I got this few precepts, Lord, when I pray this edifying lesson. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 15 and verse 39. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of Yahweh. All right, so we're going back to the old commandment about wearing the fringes. What the fringes mean. It says, and do them. All right, so the fringes is to remember the commandments that the Lord gave us and to do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go a whoring. So even the law is written, to advise us against this. But 2/3 of our people, the wicked of our people, that's exactly what they do. They go after their own heart and their own eyes. All right, and will not be reproved. All right, now the elect is going to wake up out of it, but 2/3 destined to be destroyed are going to keep doing what they want to do. All right, and that goes, I was going to say that goes a lot for women too. Okay, they just want to do what they want to do according to their own will. All right, that Satanist mentality, do as thou wilt. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 28 and verse 26. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. So if you follow your own way, all right, what you think is right, scripture says that's foolish. All right, instead you have to walk wisely, and the scripture says that these commandments are wisdom in the sight of the nations. Okay, so the wisdom is written in the Bible, and the commandments on how we should carry ourselves and how we should move. But again, the fool will just keep going according to his own will. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 18 and verse 11. It says, now therefore go to, speak to the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I frame evil against you, and devise a device against you. Return now every one from his evil way, and make your ways and your doings good. And what is good? All right. How do you know the difference between good and evil? All right. The scripture says the heart is deceitful above all things. All right. The scriptures say, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is death. So how do you know what actually is good? All right. We got to take our own thoughts, our own ways out of the way, and seek Yahweh Shem Yahushai, like it's written, because how he, that his ways are higher than our ways, how he's up in the heavens and we're down in the earth. Okay, so are his ways higher than ours? They're better. All right, and that's how we do good. But this is the attitude that Jake has in verse 12. It says, and they said, there is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices, and we will every one do to the imagination of his evil heart. Okay, and that's the mentality, man. That's why the scripture says they hate him that rebuketh in the gate. That's why they killed the prophets back in the day, because Jake doesn't like to be reproved. But the Lord has commanded us to go out there, whether they hear or whether they forbear. All right, so they can have no excuse. All right, so they can't say that the Lord didn't tell them how to walk. Okay, so like the elder says, risking in our lives and our freedom to push forth His word is a true saying. Because these people hate to hear the truth. They hate to be reproved. All right, they hate the correction. All right, and the highways and the byways, they hate to see us out there. All right, but nevertheless, it has to be done. All right, the scripture says that the Lord was pleased with the foolishness of preaching. Okay. So it's going to happen, man, whether they hear or they forbear. Okay. Now, there's a time and a place for all things. Outside of that, you have your Clark Kent, but nevertheless, hey, have it in mind that these people, hey, they don't want to hear the word, man. They don't want to be reproved. That's why the scripture says, speak unto the wise. All right. And ultimately, in the time that the Lord has ordained, the elect will hear the voice. So we just got to keep preaching. And at the end of the day, we're just out there for the elect. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 9 and verse 8. It says, reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. And that's the point. Okay, these people will hate to hear the rebuke, because ultimately they just want to do according to their own will. Proverbs 13:1. A wise son heareth his father's instruction, but a scorner hateth, Salakia, a scorner heareth not rebuke. Okay? They're not going to hear the rebuke. All right? Because they're scorners. They hate the word. All right? Ultimately, they hate instruction. But, they'll be right in the kingdom. But as for now, there's no correcting them. That's why that fire, a thermonuclear missile fire, has to come and hit. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 32 and 17. It says, a sinful man will not be reproved, but he findeth an excuse according to his will. A man of counsel will be considerate, but a strange and proud man is not daunted with fear, even when of himself he hath done without counsel. And that's all these people. They walk around without counsel. They go after their own will, after the counsel of their own mind. All right? And are not considerate. Okay? They don't have the fear of the Most High. Okay? and are always finding excuses to do their own folly. All right, but the day of reckoning is going to come, and the Most High, He's going to judge whether the things that were done in their life were good or bad. And again, how do we know what's good or bad? Hey, it's through the commandment of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, doing His will and putting ours, to the side, and have our ways be the ways of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, which tendeth unto life, all right, unto growth, unto peace, all right, unto walking in the Spirit, all right, separating from evil and from all vile and wicked works. I'll finish with this last precept here. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 1. He that being often reproved hardeneth his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. Okay? And, that's these people out here, man, that, ultimately, these castaways too, they keep getting reproved, and ultimately they don't want to hear the righteous words, how to live justly, all right. Instead, they harden their neck, all right, and be prideful. They go about their own way, all right, make an excuse for their own selves, and that's the battle that Jake has always been battling, all right. Fighting to be on point, all right, and then they end up falling off, man. Okay, that's why we gotta strive to be on point to the most of our ability, and like the scripture says, offend less. Because you offend more, then you get more corrections. You're liable to harden your neck, man. That's a scary thing. You don't gotta be seeking to always be reproved, man. All right, or be comfortable with being reproved. Because ultimately the flesh and those demons, those demons through the flesh, will have you buck up and go the hell off, man. All right, and what's gonna happen to that man? It says shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. Okay. So it's just Jake in general, man. That's what they struggle with, man. They don't want to be reproved. They don't want to have the authority. Jake already have a problem with authority, but when it's Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai laying down the law, all right, the right way, the way that they should go is when they should take heed. Okay. But Jay got a problem with authority. They buck up and they do their own will. Okay, so at the end of the day, we're just out here for the elect. Let's put on as the elect. Strive to be perfect as our Father in heaven is perfect. Offend less. All right, and fight to stay in the Spirit, because ultimately the Lord's looking at the inside of the man, and how he's walking. His actions and what he's doing. All right. So, we're at the end of the day, we're here for the elect. Everybody else, we'll see him on the other side. So I'll leave you out with that. I pray this was a edifying lesson. Like always, giving all praises and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakah Quadash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And salutations to the brethren pushing forth this word in truth and in sincerity. Until the next one, brothers, say shalom. And as always, Kwame Asherallah and Abba Babal.